Live from Customer Contact Week at home. Put your calls on hold. We're exploring the top challenges facing customer contact and CX leaders in these extraordinary times. Our queue is chock full of best practices from the most innovative brands in the world and the brightest stars in the customer contact constellation. You don't want to miss our virtual exhibit hall featuring the latest and greatest technology, products, and services in the industry. It's all right here. Welcome to Live from CCW at home.
Well, hello and welcome to Customer Contact Week at home. I'm Michael D. Yeager.
And I'm Nathan Nickens. It's our great pleasure to invite you into the home of Customer Contact Week at home on this National Dog Day. We put out our best headsets for the occasion.
And we also polished our finest phones. Customer Contact Week is the world's largest customer contact event series. We're thrilled to welcome you to the home of CCW at home.
And you couldn't have picked a better day to join us.
Well, actually, it's almost over. If they're joining us for the first time, I'd say it isn't like the best day to join us.
Michael, be polite. These are our guests.
Fine. I'm just saying this is our penultimate program period.
I know. I'm just saying we should be nicer. Let's try again. You couldn't have picked a better day to join us.
That's right, Nathan. How's that?
It's brilliant, Michael.
Well, welcome to my devoted fans.
Our fans.
Whatever.
Michael, this is our 8th day. It's the penultimate movement in our symphony of the top issues facing customer contact and CX professionals, led by an ensemble of the top leaders in the profession.
Variations on contact center themes.
No.
On Dante and AI.
Oh, Michael.
Rhapsody and CX.
Yes, it's very helpful. I think they get it. You see, this is an interactive digital conference seasoned with cutting-edge content from the top executives and business leaders in the profession.
And if this is your first time, you'll find us right here for a high-octane preview of what each day has in store for you.
That's right, from right here in this beautiful studio, located midway up a relatively tall building in the once bustling metropolis of New York City.
We'll be joined throughout the event by the brightest stars in the contact center industry.
And we'll highlight can't-miss sessions, we'll interview industry icons, and we might take your calls.
Now, whether this is your first CCW event or you've been attending for years,
right,
I want to thank you for making this decision to invest in your career.
And, Michael, on the off chance that any of our friends miss a session.
Now, who's missing sessions, Nathan? I need names. I need a list.
Oh, we're watching, and I'll let you know who's been naughty and nice.
Well, you would be a great Santa Claus, Nathan.
What?
I just mean, when you finally realize you kind of aren't cut out for this line of work, you should maybe look into the Santa line of work.
Thank you, Michael. What I was trying to say is that if you miss a session, we programmed our VCR to be sure you can view most of them after they air in our on-demand session library. And that's available, Michael, until September 30th.
Well, I do declare, it looks like I have plans until September 30th.
There's just so much you can do here on this platform. But first, Michael, our friends have to complete their profiles.
Boy, that is the truth.
By completing your profile, you can use the filters in our attendee directory to find and connect with fellow attendees based on mutual interests.
And do we have a lot of contact center and CX execs for you to meet.
True.
While unfortunately we can't run into them in the hallway this year, we can still brush shoulders. In a virtual sense.
That's right. Pull up your mouse to the attendee directory at the top of the page and get to scheduling those one-to-one video meetings from right here in the CCW at Home platform with pals new and old and some of the brightest stars in the profession.
Oh, did I hear contact center royalty?
Yes, you did. We have Viscounts of VOC, the Marquis of Metrics. What about the Senfo of Telephony?
And we didn't even get to the Queens?
Oh, brother.
Wait. Sempo?
Yes, it's a legendary Tibetan king, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Safe to say, there's no shortage of networking opportunities.
Well, I'd like to congratulate CCW Sandy Coe and Lily Zhang on a magnificent CC Women Summit yesterday.
That's right. It was a truly fantastic program. Yes. Special thanks to Verizon's Kelly Kurtzman, Erica Kelly, and Tom Nugent, who joined us in person yesterday to host the program.
Now, if you weren't able to join us live, check it out on demand by navigating to the sessions on our agenda.
But not until we're finished today.
That's right. Yesterday was, Michael, as you say often, quite the day.
As I say?
Well, that's...
As if I would say anything that you said or say.
Here we go again.
But yes, it was quite the day. You really know how to turn a phrase, Nathan.
That's right. We recognized yesterday the winners and finalists of the CCW Excellence Awards.
You know, that's my favorite season, you know?
Your favorite season?
Award season.
And we are joined by some of the brightest stars in the customer contact constellation.
Oh, well, while we're on this, I have a few things to say about that. Did you see what walked down that virtual red carpet yesterday?
I did. Extraordinary leaders alongside baseball legend Reggie Jackson and singing sensation Debbie Gibson.
Okay. Well, let me refresh your memory. Sure, we honored extraordinary achievement among the top leaders in the profession, but can someone explain this? Our host, CMP Managing Director Mario Matalich, dressed like a banquet server at the East Fiddlesticks Country Club Copacabana potluck. I mean, I prefer the pajamas.
Michael, that's mean.
I said what I said.
Okay, well, how do you like this? Here's presenter Michael DeJager sporting a jacket that looks like it was put together by a rabid band of weasels with glitter and a craft store glue gun.
I will call the police!
See what I mean? We have to be nicer to people.
Fine. Did you catch CCW Advisory Board co-chair John Pompey in a fabulous costume?
It was a very nice ensemble.
Well, his outfit's fine. I guess my only issue is this dirty laundry just airing out on the deck during our solemn awards program.
Did you see Target Senior Director Jennifer Hansen's fantastic 3-season porch?
Here we're holed up in this shoebox, while our awards presenters are in a 3-season porch living their best life. I need a new agent.
You need a lot more than an agent.
Nathan! Or CCW co-chair and awards presenter Kelly Kurtzman. Look at those bookshelves.
Tread lightly, Michael. Kelly is much stronger than you.
You know, I'm just saying that she has so many more tchotchkes than the CCW at home desk.
True. Do I sense a little jealousy?
I mean, fine. I would like a few more antique phones, definitely some more books.
Let's stop while we're behind.
Oh, and another thing.
Here we go.
I know she's an icon, award-winning actress and singing sensation, but there isn't anything sensational about that hat, Debbie. Cancel my subscription. I don't need those hats.
What does that mean? I think we're off the rails again. What we mean to say is please be sure to watch the CCW Excellence Awards on demand. And if you won an award yesterday,
post a video of your acceptance speech.
And be sure to tag it #CCW Awards.
Now, we can't be together in person, but we can connect on social media. That's basically the same in 2020, right?
Yeah, Michael, it's almost exactly the same. You know, our team's been busier than a one-eyed cat watching 3 mouse holes these past few months as we prepared to bring you this program.
That joke wasn't funny the first, or the second, or the third time you told it.
It's rude. It's very rude.
And I know you mentioned this in the beginning, but I just want to clarify. Do you know what day it is?
Yes, it's August 26th. Oh, it's National Dog Day.
And to celebrate, we have a special guest in the studio this morning. Please welcome Nathan's little pup, Barney. Now Randy has a friend.
Well, our remote work lifestyle has introduced coworkers into our homes. They've introduced us to our families and also our furry little friends.
And Barney just couldn't resist the invitation to join us at CCW at home. I mean, he cleared 5 naps out of his calendar today to be sure he could not miss a minute of CCW at home.
That's right. And in honor of National Dog Day, we'd love to ask you all to post pictures of you and your pups in your remote workstations.
And as always, we love to see your videos, stories, and aha moments from CCW at home.
That's right. Post them to social media and use the hashtags CCW at home and Customer Contact Week.
Thanks, Barney.
Oh, thanks, Barney.
Need help? Who doesn't? Am I right?
Michael! What he meant to say was, if you need assistance during the event, our team is here to help.
I said what I said. Now, in any case, click on the Get Help button on the top right corner of the platform and get direct access to attendee resources, our how-to video, and connect with our mavens of making it right, Paige and Kara.
That's right. Oh, I want to do it. How do it? Do you know what that sound means?
Yeah, it's time to buckle up my little orthopedic shoes and bossa nova over to the prize segment.
Now, Michael, before you bossa nova to anywhere, we have a ton of new attendees joining us for the first time today.
Oh, I see them. Oh, hey, Jericho.
What?
Is that you? Look out, Contessa. Sheila. Traffic cone orange looks real nice on you, Velma.
Michael, you can't see them.
Sure I can. They're my fans. They're right there.
They're our fans.
Okay.
Should we do a quick run through of all the prizes?
Shall. Conestoga definitely wants to win. I see her with a pen and pencil there. She's ready. Let's do it.
Conestoga? Yes, you can quiz me this time.
All right. Okay.
All right,
Here we go.
ready. I'm ready.
All right. So, you do have an audience watching.
I'm aware.
Just making sure. And I aced this quiz last week, so
Yes, aced.
wouldn't expect anything less. So I've set the bar high. Just letting you know.
Expect much less, Michael. Anyway, let's go.
Okay, Nathan. Let's see how you do. I'll list a prize, and you tell me what you need to do to win.
I'm ready.
The Daily Doer.
That's $100 to the person who racks up the most points every day. Huh? And today's the last day for this prize.
Oh, the surprise.
Oh, that's $100 to an attendee randomly chosen by us every day. Last day for that prize.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, you're doing pretty well. It's pretty impressive. Now, how about the top recruiter?
That, Michael, is $500 for the attendee who refers the most number of attendees.
Top attendance?
Okay, that's an easy one. $500 for the attendee with the highest session attendance at the end of the event.
Social butterfly?
$500 for the attendee who is most active
In
the virtual expo hall.
the leaderboard top 15.
Okay, got this one too. People who make up the top 15 on the leaderboard by the end of the event, they'll all get prizes.
My gosh. And last but not least, the grand prize.
Oh, the grand prize. Who doesn't know that one?
Well, we're here to be helpful.
The grand prize is the one I'm gunning for.
You aren't eligible. We've discussed this because I'm not eligible. You work here. I work here.
That's rude, Michael. That's the one I want. And it goes to the end user at the top of the leaderboard by 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time on the last day of the program. That's tomorrow.
That's right. $1,000 cash is our grand prize to the end user at the top of our leaderboard tomorrow.
It's a gift card. Now, none of this would be possible if it weren't for our sponsors, especially our premium sponsors. Affinity,
Avaya,
Clarabridge,
Edify,
Five9,
Genesis,
LiveVox,
Nice in Contact,
Salesforce Service Cloud,
and ServiceNow. Thank you all for your continued support and partnership.
Now, today at 3 p.m., join live action trivia at Microsoft's virtual booth for a chance to win a $100 Microsoft Store gift card.
And I heard they're giving away 4. I love me some trivia.
Wow, that's a lot. That's great.
Oh,
Ooh, it's time.
move over, man on the street. It's my pleasure to introduce CCW analyst Sandy Cohen in a Zoom room.
She's a splendiferous Stephanie Plum. Armed with a webcam and curiosity, she set out to discover hidden treasures from the minds of leaders in the CCW community.
That's right. She's taken a little hand lens to contact center execs and serving up a souffle of scintillating scholarship.
Let's check in with Sandy and see who's in the queue. Hey, Sandy.
Thanks. I'm Sandy Cohen. In the queue today, we are joined by our very own contact center Beyonce, Lee Roach, who is a customer service manager at Johnson & Murphy, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, Lee, are you ready to go in the queue?
Never been more ready. I am ready.
Let's go. What's the most overused CX term right now?
The new normal.
Where did you quarantine these past 4 months?
At my house.
What's a new hobby you've acquired in quarantine?
Eating.
Me too. How long have you worked in customer contact?
About 23 years. I look good, don't I?
What is your favorite thing about customer operations?
Just inspiring people to do the best they can.
Least favorite thing about customer operations?
Sometimes the people.
Who is your CX idol?
I really like Myra Golden.
Oh, we've had her as our speaker before. Describe yourself in a hashtag.
Hashtag look out.
If your life was a song, what would it be?
Probably Stay Fly by 3-6 Mafia.
What's your wake-up ritual in quarantine?
I get up and I immediately start reading the news.
Exciting.
I know.
What's your favorite time of the day?
The morning.
Country you most recently visited?
Mexico.
Dream country to visit next?
I'd love to go to Australia.
Heels or flats?
Heels.
What are 3 things you can't live without?
My phone,
Okay.
my husband,
hmm
and his credit card.
What's one ingredient you put in everything?
Fun,
Window or aisle seat?
window seat,
A dessert you don't like?
pudding. It's dumb.
A skill you're working on mastering?
Well, I guess organization.
Best thing to happen to you today?
Having this interview with you.
Yay!
Yeah.
Best compliment you've ever received?
That I just made someone feel good.
Hmm.
I made their day.
Favorite smell?
Oh gosh, the fresh washed laundry, like the smell of Gain. Does it to me every time.
By the way, this is not sponsored by Gain, right? If you could switch lives with someone for a day, who would it be?
Oprah Winfrey. Okay.
What are you looking forward to most about CCW at home?
I'm really looking forward to the Women's Summit. It was great at the last 2 CCWs, and so super excited about it this year.
Well, that's all that we have for today. Thanks, Lee, for your time. I'm Sandy Coe, and that was In the Queue. Now back to you. Bye.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Sandy. That was great. And now, Michael, it's time for the morning meeting.
That's right. It's the morning meeting. We'll start each day right here with the who, what, and why of CCW at home.
That's right. We're your guides to help ensure you get the most value for your time here.
We're like the Big Dipper in your virtual sky, a constellation to guide your vessel through our CXC.
Michael, I think they get it. But let's get to brass tacks. Here are the top moments on our program today that you don't want to miss.
That's right. So we'll kick off the day with ABC News Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis.
She's in conversation with Mira Beauty CEO Jay Hack on the future of AI for CX.
Ooh, that's going to be an excellent session. We'll follow that with a marvelous panel on taking ownership of your end-to-end customer experience.
Rebecca joins us on that one too, along with leaders from MasterCard, ServiceNow, and Wellstar Health System.
Well, my mouth is watering. I'm going to eat up a few plates of great content.
Hope you brought your bib, because there's more. Following the morning panel, we break into 3 blocks of case studies and topical breakout sessions. Make sure you reserve your spot.
That's right. And following the breakout sessions,
Starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, everyone has a chance to be a social butterfly.
I mean, I already am a social butterfly.
Do you know why the social butterfly didn't go to the dance?
I quit, Mr. Spielberg. Please cut. I can't listen to these jokes anymore.
The butterfly didn't go to the dance because it was a mothball.
Oh, thank God. I have never been more excited to hear that music. Got me out of your same old jokes, Nathan. It's time to put your calls on hold.
That's right. Please welcome ABC News Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis.
And Mira Beauty CEO Jay Hack on the future of AI in CX.
Rebecca and Jay, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Jarvis, ABC's Chief Business, Technology, and Economics Correspondent, and we are here today to talk about the future of AI in the customer experience, and I'm joined by Jay Hack. He is the co-founder and CEO of Mira Beauty. He's building the beauty shopping experience of the future. Jay, first of all, welcome, and second of all, what does it look like in the future?
Well, I think what we've traditionally seen is that a lot of retailers who focus on the beauty market don't really take into account the things that matter when you go about shopping for beauty. And so that might be what your personal preferences are, the type of content that you need in order to make a confident purchasing decision around a specific beauty product, because at the end of the day, they're pretty complicated products. It's a chemical that you put on your face. And so you need sort of a lot of proof before you decide that's something you want to purchase. And furthermore, they don't really take into account the fact that the beauty purchasing experience is inherently very experiential. So you need to find inspiration in others, you need to connect with the community, et cetera. It really just sort of looks like your run-of-the-mill retail experience. And we really envision a future in which we're able to better account for what the beauty shopping experience should consist of, instead of just defaulting to the way of old retail, if that makes sense.
Well, and speaking of the experience, for many, the beauty shopping experience is very experiential in person, which has been completely upended because of COVID, as so many businesses have been. How do you take what the customer loved about the prior experience pre-pandemic and use AI to grow that in the virtual world?
It's a really great question. It's something we think about every day, and it really is at the core of our business. I'll give you an example of something you get in store that's really tough to replicate online. You walk up to a booth that has a certain set of color cosmetic products, for instance. You might swatch it on your arm, and you feel the texture of the product in your hand, and that gives you, a ton of sort of sensory reads on what that product is good for. You know the smell of the product, you know the texture, you know how it matches your skin tone, etc. And this is something that has traditionally been very difficult to replicate in the digital world. A lot of people we've seen have tried something like virtual try-on with augmented reality. I think a lot of folks have probably seen that as they go into, various stores. They'll have an iPad and it'll show you what a product will look like on your face. Honestly, it's a little bit gimmicky, and especially if you're doing that at home on, a MacBook or something like that, the resolution of your camera is just not very good. But we have sort of a contrarian thesis around how we can go about replicating that same experience while you're at home shopping on your laptop. And that is, instead of just projecting makeup onto your face and saying this is what it would look like, we instead find content out there that we think is actually going to speak to your needs and preferences that describes that same aspect of the product that you're looking at. And so, very tangibly, if you're trying to understand what the texture and the pigmentation of a color cosmetic product is, well, chances are there's somebody who's produced content about that product before, who has taken a photo of that product and even swatched it on their arm. And so what we will do is we'll consume information about our consumers that they give to us willingly, which is information like what is your skin tone, what's your skin type, what types of content do you like to read. We will find that content out there on the web today of somebody who's already published, let's say, a blog post about this specific product, and we'll use those two sort of pieces of data to link you with the right content that you need in order to make a informed purchasing decision. So, taking a step back, it's really replicating these different sort of micro experiences you have throughout the process of walking through an Ulta or Sephora in a digital realm by being very intelligent about how you leverage information, data, and being very personalized.
How do you make sure that the customer is happy with that? So as to say that you're going to end up in situations perhaps where all of that data is coming back and it's highly useful to the consumer, but for the business that's trying to sell the product, it may or may not be what they're hoping gets in front of the consumer.
That's a great question. I feel like it plays along the same trend that we're seeing more generally, where a lot of the time in 2020 and increasingly in the past couple of years, we see that the narrative surrounding products has really sort of been wrenched from the hands of brands, as it traditionally has been, and put into the hands of the community that talks about it. And so you'll probably learn more about a brand today by looking at conversations on Twitter and Instagram than you will by going to the brand's website, because naturally a brand wants you to know about its product in only a flattering way, right? They're only going to describe themselves in terms of what they think is amazing about it, but that might not actually be the most authentic take. And we're seeing increasingly in 2020, consumers demand that authentic take. They really need to understand like what authentic people have said about a product in a non-sponsored manner in order to make an informed buying decision, and as well they should. This is doubly true of myself. I would never buy a product just based upon the reviews that are present on a brand's website because it's difficult to trust that. So while it is true that there might be some unflattering information out there about a brand, we think that it is of tantamount importance to surface that content to an end user who's thinking about buying the product. We really value transparency and authenticity in the shopping journey. That's something that you probably will not get in traditional retailers either, but it's something that allows our consumer to make a more informed buying decision. And as a result, they'll find a product they're happier with at the end of the day. The one thing I will say, though, is that I think that you need to be even-handed in your surfacing of content of different sentiment. And by that, I mean, you can't just show the negative around a specific product that somebody finds. You have to show the full story. And so if consumers online are actually saying, hey, this product is great for X and not as great for Y, both of those narratives need to be presented in a very sort of unbiased manner, if you will, in order to maximally inform the customer who's trying to make that buying decision.
And how do you ensure that? How much of it is the human aspect of this whole equation versus the technology aspect of it?
That's a good question. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's very subjective to say whether you have correctly represented what the online community has to say about a product in your sort of distilled representation of what it's good for. I'll give you a very tangible example. One of the things we do at Mira is we look at this point, over 10 million reviews we've gathered from across the web. We know what products they're talking about, and we'll use natural language processing, which is essentially artificial intelligence applied to text, to extract the sentiments that people have expressed about the product over time. And so if you come to our product page, you'll see, hey, this concealer is in the top 80th percentile of creaminess, and here are the 5,000 reviews that have said that. Here are the specific snippets where people have actually said it's creamy. But if you don't believe us, go ahead and read the primary source yourself. And so we'll sort of bear the device that we use in order to arrive at that conclusion. It may be the case, as is frequently the case with a lot of these artificially intelligent algorithms, that there is some bias locked in there somewhere. What we would anticipate, though, is that, first of all, that bias is equally applied across all products. And so no one brand ends up standing out above the rest of them. And then furthermore, because we are very transparent in the conclusions that we arrive at, even if we're wrong, let's say it's not the 80th percentile, it's instead the 78th percentile or something like that, we still really encourage the people who are doing this product research to take our word for it. That's the 80-20. They'll get sort of the grand idea, but then to dive into the primary sources themselves and actually engage with the community of folks who have reviewed this product in the past. And so we think of it as we are doing more good than harm by sort of doing the legwork for you to do the summarization. But then at the end of the day, as a consumer, it's really up to you to decide, is this something that I want to purchase?
And how have you seen it drive sales?
The interesting thing about beauty basically up until COVID is that so few of the sales in the industry were done online. And this is one of the first things that got us interested here. We saw that about 11% of the sales in the industry pre-COVID were done through e-commerce channels, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, you have this category that is so well suited to e-commerce because it's tiny. You have very high SKU count, which means it's easy to stock in a warehouse and ship remotely. And you have this consumer who's incredibly digitally savvy. So they're spending a ton of time on YouTube, on Instagram. And a lot of people don't know this, but this number 2 category on YouTube is actually cosmetics videos, or videos that have to do somehow with cosmetics and personal care. And so, this sort of narrative emerges of, you have a consumer who's great for e-commerce and you have a category who's great for e-commerce. Why have the two not actually connected, and we haven't seen more sales being done through digital channels? And the answer obviously is that it's just such a complicated category to reason about if you're only seeing it through a screen, because at the end of the day, you are putting a chemical on your face, right? And that's, it's a very good reason that it's difficult to sort of buy this product online. So we see the key to unlocking online commerce to basically be to replicate those things, or at least to a certain extent, replicate the things that you would otherwise experience in store. So you can be more confident in making that purchasing decision without having to actually get in your car, potentially expose yourself to pathogens as you're inside of a physical retail location, et cetera.
Do you think, obviously in this particular moment, COVID is a game changer, but in the long run, do you see the pandemic changing customer behavior going forward?
I love the saying that consumer behaviors shift gradually and then suddenly. And a lot of the time, people decide to behave differently, not because of something that comes internally, but because of something that happens externally. And then they realize, hey, this is actually a better way to live. And I think a great example of that is a lot of folks who work in information technology have recently realized that working from home is actually pretty great in a lot of circumstances, especially if your job allows you to do that, because it means you can live life on your own terms. Similarly, I think that's the case for the beauty consumer, where a lot of folks were getting in their car, going to Walgreens in order to buy a relatively small product just for replenishment's sake, because they were not accustomed to this behavior of buying makeup online. Having clicked that button for the first time, seen the product arrive in their mailbox, and it is in fact the same product they expected, I think a lot of folks are very happy with that. And we anticipate seeing this being something that has become an established behavior and will continue into the future.
What do you think will be the biggest customer experience 5 years from now because of AI?
I'm sorry, the biggest change to the experience?
Yeah, the biggest change to the experience.
So this is another great opportunity to invoke a quote I love, which is, there's a venture capitalist named Mark Andreessen who says, software is eating the world, which is true. A lot of industries are seeing an increase in the use of software. And I believe that AI is eating software. And by that, I mean, there's a million decisions that a software program will make throughout the course of you interacting with it. That's, what button do I show you? What page do I transition to, et cetera. A lot of those decisions are made in a not very intelligent way. And one of the things that we're seeing in the industry more generally is that a lot of these things can be done in a more intelligent way. All you have to do is empower yourself with artificial intelligence in order to make that happen. And so that means that basically every touch point that a company or a software program or whatever that is has with the customer can be more intelligent and can do things like be more personalized, take into account that customer's intentions, and weave that into what it's actually doing in order to better facilitate delivering their service to a customer. I know that's very abstract, but to make it quite tangible, something like search results, very simple. You go to a platform and you're looking for a specific product. Maybe you type in, I am looking for, going back to our earlier example, a concealer that is very creamy. Well, as you browse through, you're probably going to spend a little bit more time lingering on certain types of products. That contains some signal about who you are, about the types of things that you value, et cetera. And that means you can leverage this information in order to provide a better experience for the consumer in the future as they do another search query. And instead of just being, return the top concealers, you instead return the top concealers for that customer. And in doing so, you can, erase a lot of the time that otherwise would be spent just dealing with indecision and seeing all these things that are irrelevant to you, et cetera. So I basically see that type of intelligent inference being woven into every aspect of the customer journey towards purchase, especially in digital media. And there's no reason it shouldn't be.
I would imagine that a lot of people watching right now, in addition to thinking about what the future looks like, are thinking about where the investments should be made today in order to secure success. And I wonder, from your vantage point, where do you see the greatest ROI on the investments, and where do you think the money has been wasted more recently, and where should people be ignoring, despite the fact that, it's a hot topic, no matter what you say?
Sure. Well, I know it's not sexy, but data integration is the number one thing you can do. And by data integration, I mean, instead of having 6 different data warehouses in different countries, pull everything into one place. And so you can start doing very rudimentary analysis on it. If you can do that, then you're empowered. You sort of have fertile ground to build all of the more intelligent, sexier technologies that we spend a lot of time talking about and glorifying in the media. But without it, you're completely powerless. And that's the vast majority of industries are unfortunately in a position like that. So once you have that, once you have all of your data in one place and you have the ability to have a data analyst go through it and do very rudimentary things like, for instance, figure out which customers are buying which products and do simple segmentations, which you would be shocked at how few folks can actually do that. Then on top of that, there comes this opportunity to start essentially A/B testing different types of intelligent inference that will power your business forward. So I think that the typical pattern that companies should adopt as they're trying to figure out how can we make intelligent inference work for us is to say, what's something I wish I knew? And what's something I wish I knew about every customer? You try and put together a system that's capable of predicting that at a cadence that works for you. So maybe it's every month you predict the top 1,000 customers who you think are likely to want to receive a sample from your company or something like that. And you send out a bunch of samples and you see how well it does. If the returns on that are great, then that sort of justifies further investment. If you feel like it is lackluster, then I would say cut your losses, and there's a million other opportunities to apply this type of thing. That's where you should be making an investment. So it's sort of a diligent application of intelligent inference on top of a very sturdy data foundation is what I think leads organizations to success when it comes to artificial intelligence. Now, the more interesting part of your question is where should people not be making investments? Well, it's very easy to point to stuff in the tech world, which is very frothy right now, and say, hey, this is overhyped. I wouldn't really recommend you look at that. A really great example of that is crypto. I know this has not a lot to do with artificial intelligence necessarily, but there was certainly a period maybe 2 years ago when a bunch of companies were thinking, wow, how can I use blockchain in my business? The thing is, it doesn't actually add any customer value to have crypto somewhere in your company's value proposition. To them, it's just still a database. It's just a slower database a lot of the time. And so I would say you have to be laser focused in terms of choosing the technologies that actually end up producing some internal company value or some external customer value. And if it doesn't do either of those, and there's not a clear line of sight to it eventually doing that, you're basically betting on a hype train. And I would caution people against doing something like that. There's one more shout out I would love to give, and that is this very exciting technology that I think a lot of folks will be hearing about pretty soon here. It's called GPT-3. It is essentially the largest artificial intelligence program ever created for looking at natural language. And by that, I mean text that you might find online. And this thing is frankly incredible. You can do all kinds of things with it that really seem human-like and surpass your expectation, or a lot of people's expectation, including AI researchers' expectations, for how intelligent AI can be in 2020. And so you can do things like, for instance, feed it 1,000 reviews of a product and start asking it questions as you would a human, and it'll give you back answers that seem not only as though they're coming from a human, but also are accurate if you were to actually go through and do the diligence. There's a bunch of other applications like this that apply in the context of GPT-3, this model, but that sort of unlocks a whole new type of way to engage with customers, which is more conversational. You can, instead of just having a complicated form that somebody needs to fill out online in order to get in touch with your company, you can have a chat box that pops up and says, hey, let us know if we can help you. The initial person to respond to them would be this model, and then you would triage from there. And I feel like that's extremely powerful. It obviously adds customer value if they can speak to something intelligent right away. And then furthermore, it obviously adds company value if they don't have to expend resources on having folks deal with, sometimes menial customer service issues, et cetera.
Not to get too far off track, but if crypto and blockchain are not necessarily proving their worth in this context, do you believe that there's still value in them outside of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that long-term crypto makes a ton of sense. It does have a lot of the mathematical guarantees that we would want in a currency. And, would love to see this be a thing in 30 years. It's a fantastic store of value, and there absolutely are applications in which it creates value. I think that the issue with the crypto craze of about 2 years ago, which kind of continues today, is that people are more inspired by the idea of using crypto than the outcome that it can produce.
On the topic of chatbots, before we go, I'm curious to know what your understanding is, or where the customer, where the consumer's mind is when they recognize that they're dealing with a chatbot. I mean, I think about myself when I call customer service line and it asks me questions and I put in my answers, my numerical answers. Usually I try and bypass that so that I can get to a human being.
Yeah. This is a really interesting topic too. It's the UX of artificial intelligence. So, it's not enough to just say, hey, we have this really intelligent thing, please use it, customers. People aren't going to react well to that. It's a novel technology, and with that needs to come a novel UX or user experience, as well as a user interface or UI. So a really good example of where this probably doesn't work very well is a lot of times you'll have a little chat bubble at the side where a human could be speaking to you or an AI could be speaking to you and you have no idea. And that causes confusion on the side of a customer or a consumer. And that's the exact anti-pattern for what you want. You want people to have a very clear model of the service that you're offering them and what they can expect the outcome to be. And so what I would encourage people to do is, folks who are building products that are trying to leverage artificial intelligence, is instead of just trying to make it seem as though you have like the wizard behind the curtain that is the AI and nobody really knows if it's a human or not, be very clear with your customers and say, hey, this is going to deliver you a lot of value. It is artificially intelligent. If you ever reach a point at which this is not doing something for you that you want it to, then you can speak to a human. But basically use it as the first line of defense in customer service, for instance. And so a chat bubble is probably a bad example, but a better example might be if somebody is trying to figure out, what are returns on this product? Well, they type their question into an FAQ bar. The first answer that pops up, you have a bunch of articles or something like that. The first answer that pops up is also generated by an artificial intelligence that says, the answer to your question might be something, 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 generated by our internal service machine, named GPT-3, et cetera. And I think in that scenario, people get the answer they're looking for. They know where the answer is coming from and its potential fallibility as a result. And there's no confusion that's actually caused.
Jay Hack, co-founder and CEO of Mira Beauty. We've now seen the future, thanks to you.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Jay and Rebecca. Now, up next, we've got an exciting panel discussion on taking ownership of your end-to-end customer experience.
From a few of the brightest stars in the customer contact constellation. This is a thing.
Please welcome MasterCard's EVP of Global Customer Care, Lance Gruner.
Head of Support Strategy at ServiceNow, Andrew Paparides.
And Wellstar Health Systems Head of Customer Experience, Joshua Tai.
All in conversation with our brilliant moderator, ABC News Chief Business Correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis.
I'll grab my bib. Feed me content. I'm ravenous.
There's little I wouldn't do to make this go by more quickly.
Rebecca, take it away.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Jarvis, ABC's Chief Business, Technology, and Economics Correspondent, and I'm thrilled to be with all of you today to talk about taking ownership of your end-to-end customer experience. And we have with us a group of great panelists on this topic. Lance Gruner is the Executive Vice President of Global Customer Care at MasterCard. Joshua Tai is the Head of Customer Experience at Wellstar Health System. And Andrew Paparides is the Head of Support Strategy at Servicenow. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Good
Hey,
morning.
good morning. Really excited to be here.
So I think a lot of people watching right now can appreciate this idea about living within silos. So much of everything is siloed, and breaking down those silos and finding ways to continue to put the customer first throughout the organization is so important. So Joshua, why don't we start with you? How are you thinking about this in your world?
Yes, silos are a very big barrier, as you stated. So one of the ways that we really work to get rid of those is by developing a single view of the customer and using that view to drive our customer-centric efforts. So tying the voice of the customer into how we're developing processes and systems and uniting the teams around that focus.
Lance, how are you doing it at MasterCard?
You know, I think it's really important to make sure the customer is at the center of everything that you're doing. And it really is important that whatever you're doing, you're telling the story. So it really is about making sure the right data, the right information, and the right focus is handled all the way throughout your organization.
Andrew, ServiceNow, I think tell us a little bit about how ServiceNow is doing this.
Sure. At ServiceNow, we do things a little differently in the sense that our technical support organization is part of what we term our unified technology group. So we roll up into the development organization. So when we talk about the workflow from the customer to the support organization, it is very easy for us to then collaborate with our colleagues in our development organization by using tasks. And that really provides the accountability and really providing that end-to-end connected customer experience that we're looking for. And one more point I want to make is that quite often what we do is that we have rotations of development engineers coming through our support organization. So that gives them the ability firsthand to really look at and understand some of the challenges or the deeper challenges that our customers are having.
And how do you break down when you do end up with these silos? What do you do about addressing them?
So there is a very strong element of collaboration that we have both with the entire organization. So we work a lot closely with our sales organization, and then through our certain user groups or executive briefings that we have. So really that is the way that we really work through and capture the voice of the customer, as well as, of course, NPS and CSAT and all those other metrics that we have.
And speaking of the voice of the customer, Lance, you can't tell a strong story without incorporating that voice of the customer and having a strong tech stack to support it. What's MasterCard doing along those lines to make sure that the VOC is actively engaged in the voice of your in the tech stack?
So from the tech stack, great question. We are making sure that the customer, we're looking at the customer from a 360 view. That means that we're using tools such as speech and text analytics to get us what is happening at any one time. We're using surveying. We're using every type of opportunity for customers to connect with us. We're mining that data. We're taking that data, consolidating that data, and getting an end-to-end look at how our customers are using our product. It basically is like walking the property from a hotelier standpoint, is seeing at every point what the customer is experiencing, using our products.
What do you find is the most useful input as far as that data is concerned? And is there any data that you found is not so useful to the ultimate end game?
Data is data. You can have so much data at your fingertips. And one of the pitfalls companies get into is not making sure that you really mine the right data. You're having data coming in from many different sources. It's really important to have a good foundation and really understand what you're trying to gain from it. And it really takes a good team to understand and put the modeling together that's going to get you the right information to talk about how the customer is feeling, how the customer sentiment is, and what directions you need to focus in on to really improve that experience.
Joshua, can you talk a little bit about Wellstar Health System and the tech stack there and the major incorporation of the VOC into that?
And I echo a lot what Lance just said. One of the other things that we've implemented is in those customer-facing interactions, educating and training the leaders who are also engaged in that interface to be able to evaluate what they believe is the sentiment of that customer. And that allows us to, of course, layer it with what the survey says, as well as to gauge some sort of predictive analytic set of information so that we can know, what is driving our passes, our demoters and our promoters, promoting customer sentiment. In addition to that, one of the other things that we've begun doing outside of, speech analytics and natural language processing is our VOC huddle, where we've engaged in a daily huddle where we take what we've heard in the day so that we can gain a real-time understanding of what our customer is saying and be able to pivot more quickly to make sure that our processes and our approaches are aligned in a customer-centric fashion. Doing so has allowed us to actually increase our NPS performance significantly in a lot of areas, even since the beginning of the pandemic and how everything has changed in the service world.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on COVID-19 with all of you in a second here. But just coming back to this idea, Joshua, the VOC huddle, this daily activity that you're taking, do you find that the outcomes every day are different, or do you feel that it's reinforcing of somewhat of the same ideas on a regular basis? What is the outcome of that information for you?
Well, since there's a large volume of customers, the chance of it changing by day is very likely. However, at the foundation, those core elements don't change. The core things that satisfy the customer. But we use that information to make sure that our pillars of customer experience really are solidified so that how we drive the service and carry out the service delivery regardless of service area is consistent. And that's really the most important element. Instead of having the customer navigate their services around us, we navigate our processes and system around their voice and around their story and journey.
For all of you on COVID-19, and I see a lot of heads shaking on that idea. Andrew, on COVID-19, how have you adjusted your processes? Are there outcomes that you found that you weren't expecting in all of this?
Absolutely. So I think we've been a little fortunate again because we have 9 global support locations, and 2 of those are in areas where natural disasters occur. So we have one in Orlando, for example, and one in London in the UK. So when we talk about flooding, storms, hurricanes, so our business critical disaster recovery processes have been there for several years. So it was relatively easy for us to really move people home because everybody had phones at home and the headsets. Now, being a business-to-business support organization, a lot of our digital assets are there. I mean, we get greater than 90% of our cases coming into the support organization through those digital assets, through the portals, through proactive monitoring, et cetera. So that really enabled us to focus on our people during the time of the pandemic. And by that, I mean providing budgets for people to go and buy more comfortable chairs, for example, or to set up their office environment, their home office environment. Now we're really struggling to get people out, to go on PTO, to take time off, to rest, to recharge. So that has been really fruitful for us, beneficial for us. And from a metrics perspective, we benchmark from the end of the year, and then we were monitoring as the pandemic wore on. We found that we haven't missed a beat. We've been extremely confident and comfortable with our metrics. And in fact, one metric specifically, our CSAT actually went up during the pandemic. So we're extremely grateful that we had the setup that we had that enabled us to then switch to a home environment.
What's the most surprising thing, Andrew, that you've learned in all of this?
Well, I think for me is the metrics. There was no slowdown from our customers. So when there was no, reduction on the daily volume of cases. And then the CSAT going up. I think that speaks volume to the people and the commitment that they have to service the customers.
Lance, how has MasterCard managed the evolution of workflow with so much work from home still underway?
We've been very fortunate as a company we, as we said, did not miss a beat moving, our workforce to home. The challenge, some of the things we've had is because we operate pretty much in every place of the world. We're supporting 183 countries. I personally have team members in 29 countries. And so the challenge was mostly how to navigate all the challenges in each individual country. But when we came down to it, the focus of each and every team member was how do I best take care of the customers? So, they were very quickly to jump onto the new processes. But it really is, from a company standpoint, was easy for us to shift because of our connectivity, because of where we are in the world. We're sometimes virtual in different offices, but it really is the technology we had, the foresight of the tools that we had that allowed us to make the changes on the fly. We really, at the end of the day, everyone rose up and took care of our customers.
Well, and to that point, the digital transformation that so many companies have prepared for, that they've pushed for adoption of, has been completely accelerated through this whole experience. And in many ways, it's made what probably many of you have been pounding the table about for a long time. It's actualized those objectives because they're a necessity now in this world. What has it looked like from both the employee and the customer experience at MasterCard, Lance?
If you did not embrace digital and digital of the future, you were challenged. Companies that really didn't embrace that new technology, that new foresight. MasterCard has always embraced that. We've always had foresight. All of our teams, whether it's info security, whether it's operations, product, has always focused in on digital. We knew where the customer was going and what the customer needs were. And for us, it was, digital is a tool of what we do and how we do it. The center was really everybody's relentless focus on taking care of our customers and consumers.
Joshua, how about at Wellstar Health Systems? What has digital and this moment of transformation accelerated for your customer experience?
Yeah, once again, I echo Lance on that point because we've always had the digital transformation in our purview and really on our roadmap for our consumers and even for our business-to-business partners and in how we engage with them. But from a patient or a customer standpoint, it has been extremely accelerated, of course, due to the nature of the population, and the pandemic is health related. And so we've had to extremely accelerate our digital transformation processes. And fortunately, it's worked in our favor. And we've been able to get some great outcomes from it. I think from an employee perspective, it was really helping them to kind of going into it, we knew that it would be a little lag in educating all of them and how the consumer has changed. Many of our team members are seasoned, even in groups of thousands. And so getting that education out and really their buy-in so that they can advocate on behalf of the customer has been something that's really vital to the success of the transformation.
Absolutely vital. And you say seasoned, that's not always the easiest thing to do. People who are accustomed to doing things one way and trying to sort of evolve with the moment can be a challenge. Is there anything specifically, Joshua, that's been useful for you and for your organization in that transformation and in bringing people along, both in their appreciation for and their adoption of these changes?
One of the things that's vital in all areas, we have at minimum 55 services we provide. And so connecting to the purpose of the work is really extremely vital. And that's one of those intangible things. But as a leader and really championing the digital transformation effort, being able to connect all the teams and even leaders to a stronger and greater purpose has been key. Our customers come in groups. So our customer isn't just one person. It can be 5 people. It can be a husband and his wife and 3 children. And so being able to get the credibility and the trust from that entire group of people is extremely key. And so by connecting to purpose, the team members can then go out and with the tools they need, so to speak, to properly and effectively develop trust. And that makes the deployment of the technology much easier because it becomes not a barrier in the provision of service, but rather an extension of it.
Lance, how have you helped to achieve that buy-in?
It really is about what others have said, is really about education. It really is about the need, center focus about the customer, but it really is educating all parties on the end-to-end process, how a customer or a consumer is going to engage with us and how they're basically going to use our services. At the end of the day, how is it solving a problem for them? So it really is, number one, educating. Number 2, showing the data of how it's important to use all your tools available, and really then understanding the changing processes. Because at the end of the day, our customers and consumers have changed. It's not going back to the way it was. Behavior of customers and consumers have changed, and all our modeling of the past, can't fully be used. We rely on a lot of history to be able to be proactive with our customers, but consumer behavior has changed and become new habits. And so education of people about that, about the change, about the new normal is really important to bring them along the way on the journey.
And speaking of that new normal, virtual contact center operations are emerging as the path forward. Andrew, how is ServiceNow rethinking the business continuity of customer operations moving forward?
Yes, I think for us, while we were born in the cloud organization, we're a business-to-business type of organization. We're always looking for ways to improve. And for us, really, one such way is through our strategic workforce planning in trying to understand what are those plausible scenarios we need to plan for going forward, and what is the organization going to look like. Secondly, and I think other members here spoke about training, career development, retention of the employee pool that we have, and then really focusing more on our digital initiatives and really improving on things such as knowledge initiatives, quality, the virtual agent conversational chatbots using natural language understanding. So all those kind of elements play into how we are planning on moving forward.
You characterize the key tools for telling the customer story at the executive level?
For us, again, because we are an entity that really rolls up into the chief product officer, as a support organization, as a cloud SaaS business, the support organization plays a significant role when it comes to renewals. We also have a lot of quarterly business reviews, not just looking at the metrics, but also looking at DSAT and really looking at where customers are dissatisfied and what are we doing to address those dissatisfaction issues. And then really through the digital transformation outcomes that we have when we talk about automating services for our customers, our community, our proactive support, all these type of elements really tell the story of how we are servicing the customers and getting that voice of the customer and having that connected experience back to the organization.
Lance, how about you at MasterCard? How would you characterize those key tools for getting the customer story to the executive level?
So we are very fortunate at MasterCard, who I report up to. I report up to the president of operations technology, who is a executive committee member and reports to our CEO. So that voice is very easily it resonated up in our management committee. Too many companies keep customer service and customer service departments far away from the C-suite. Really critical to make sure that voice is at the C-suite. But to get the attention of C-suite, to get the attention, you have to have the right story and you have to have the right data. I see too many times and work with companies that focusing on the typical old style KPIs. With technology today and with text and speech analytics, you're allowed to you can fill in a great story and a data that actually backs up what you're trying to do. And with that data and with that story, the value proposition at the C-suite is very critical and it allows you with that strong story to be able to educate them. And with them on the radar screen, then they can engage the whole company behind it, which is what we've been able to do at MasterCard.
For a place like MasterCard with the institutional resources and history to really delve into that area, I would imagine, not that it's easy, but that you have a lot at your fingertips to work with there. For people who are listening right now who don't necessarily feel that they're coming at it, and they might be coming at it from the very early stages of this, Lance, how would you recommend reverse engineering some of that strategy and thinking about this going forward?
We've been very fortunate at MasterCard to have resources, great tools, and a C-suite that actually supports everything that we're trying to do in taking care of our customer. But with companies that may not have those resources, it really is establishing the value proposition. You don't need to begin with a lot of investment in tools and technology. What you do have to invest in is the ability to tell the story and show the value. So the value of each customer service organization, customer care organization, that's the voice of customer. And the customers are expecting customer service teams, to make sure that voice gets heard. So it's critical for customer care leaders, customer service leaders, to be able to establish their value, and that is only by showing the data and voice of what the customer is saying and how their customer is actually using a particular company's products and services.
Yeah, it sounds like taking a step back to take 2 steps forward and recognizing the value of that data set that you are seeing every single day in your work.
Exactly, Rebecca. It really is. It starts with taking a look at what do I have available today. We started the journey at MasterCard. We didn't have all the investments when we started the journey, but what we did was we had the tools of education. And what we did was we started to show the value, and it was going for the low-hanging fruit, going for the quick wins to say, look, here's the value proposition, here's what we did, here's what was in our control, and look at the progress we've made. And you do that, you multiply that, you carry that story, and you show the value. But it really is establishing the value and getting customer service in the C-suite, getting that voice at the table.
Joshua, based on your experience, what's one thing that people listening today can take with them and apply to making this a better end-to-end customer experience?
For sure. I think, one of the things that I've seen historically as well is that many organizations look at service or customer care teams as really a necessity, but not certainly a driver. Whereas getting the right story in place will help you to see that it's really the engine of your consumer's loyalty. So by tying the story across different customer relationships, if applicable. So for example, we have a business to business relationship with various organizations that we partner with to empower the services we provide. We also have our direct to consumer, so to speak, focus. So you tying a line between those two customer relationships and seeing how the one impacts the other, and then tying both of those two specific areas to the overall business impact helps us to tell an even stronger and more compelling story. And it really is a driver of C-suite centricity and how we've been able to get the support and resources that has enabled us to accelerate nearly double year over year. And so one of the things that I recommend is really taking a step back. And I know that was really mentioned, but I certainly echo. Take a step back and evaluate what is in place and really how you can use what is at your disposal to strengthen the story and tie it to something greater. That would really get you the end-to-end feedback. If I had an analogy, it would be taking the information and putting it on you like a backpack and seeing how you can get closer to the consumer with it.
Great analogy, Joshua. I love that. Andrew, before we go to you, I ask the same. What's that one thing that people listening right now that might not have the institutional knowledge and history of a ServiceNow, but the same ambition and motivation is there to meet that customer through the end-to-end experience? What's that one thing that people can take with them and do differently going forward?
Yes, I think a couple of things, if I may. I think one of them is being agile and making sure that they're open to the ideation of digital and embracing digital. And then the second thing is measure everything that you do. It is of vital importance that we measure the outcomes and we drive outcomes rather than just metrics for the sake of metrics. So that would be my closing statement.
Well, and in terms of measuring, just ask a quick follow-up there. What's success when you're thinking about this in a new way? How do you determine what is a successful outcome when you are making these measurements?
Sure. I think for us, successful measurements is understanding how the customer wants to be serviced. So in our case, we find that our customers want to not call support in the first place. They just want things to work. They want to be enabled to be to self-serve and find the information they need when they need it, as opposed to having to contact the technical support organization. They are things like mobile and really providing that consumer-like experience using mobile, which is relatively unique for the enterprise. Relatively common, if you will, in a consumer to consumer, in a business to consumer world, but not necessarily on a business to business. So those types of things, and really enhancing the digital assets, and giving the customers the ability to serve themselves in whatever way they choose.
And how much time do you give to those measurements? Well, how much breath do you enable as you're taking these reads?
With regards to allocation of time and resources,
yes.
and from a project perspective, absolutely. I mean, those are vital things that we do every single day when we look at our strategy, and as we plan ahead. As I said earlier on, strategic workforce planning, in understanding what are those plausible scenarios for the future, Those are things that we're doing today, and fully understanding, of course, that the business changes every single day. So we need to stay ahead all the time.
Lance, I see you shaking your head in agreement. Is there anything else you wanted to add here as the final thought for people to take with them?
You know, I agree with my fellow panelists. I think they offer great insights. You know, everything from making sure you've got your workforce, you've got the right tools, you've got data. I think that for me, it really is making sure that customer care and customer service leaders, in their mindset, they need to know that they have a value, and they need to establish that value and that voice. Customers at the end of the day are expecting us to make sure their voice as their advocate is being heard. So it's important to understand what tools, what processes you have available to you to be able to put together a great end-to-end story or a story around what you want to change. But it really is important to get that mindset, evolving the mindset of each and every person, part of the customer care team, that they are the customer. They are the customer's advocate, and they need to make sure their voice is heard.
And that absolute buy-in. Lance, Joshua, and Andrew, thank you so much for joining me in this fascinating conversation. And to everyone who joined us to listen in, thank you. I hope you learned something. I know I did.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, fellow panelists. Appreciate it. Great to see you guys.
Thank you.
Likewise.
That was good.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, Lance, Andrew, and Josh, for a great discussion.
I especially loved, Michael, the emphasis on how the contact center serves as the glue for a connected end-to-end experience.
You know, that's a brilliant observation, Nathan.
Thank you, Michael.
You know, I've never met anyone who can drill down to the point as succinctly as you do.
I don't know what to say, Michael. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Was that enough? It's only $20. I'm not saying anything more nice things. I'm not saying anything else nice about you for at least $5 more.
Someone is paying you to say nice things about me?
Oh, you didn't think I actually meant that.
Thank you, Michael. Very nice of you.
Well, you're so welcome, Nathan. And thanks to Servicenow for sponsoring our panel. To learn more, please visit the Servicenow virtual booth.
And don't miss our spectacular series of case studies and breakout sessions later this afternoon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everyone who attends a case study this afternoon will receive double points.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us.
Enjoy the case studies and our topical breakouts.
And we'll see you back here at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a spectacular afternoon program. Bye-bye, everybody.